Okay, so this is a new segment, series thing that I'm going to try to keep. Oh, do you want to say hi? Hi. Thank you. I'm going to try to keep these things very short, and I'm just going to spitball ideas for things, new media things that I would like to see. And this time around, we are talking about spin-off ideas for Avatar: The Last Airbender, the very famous 2D animated Nickelodeon show from the early 2000s, which is on its way to having a new Netflix live-action series released. I really love the original run, the 3 seasons, and I thought I would take a crack at coming up with some ideas, some spin-off ideas of my own. The first idea I had is an Iroh prequel, General Iroh. In this version, I'm going to say he's very young, maybe late teens, around the age of Zuko from the original series. He's not wise yet at all, but he still has his trademark sense of humor that we all love so much. We get to see him hanging out with his friends, with the ladies, going on dates and things, maybe, something like that. And he's coming up in prominence in the Fire Kingdom when it's not quite as evil as it was that we saw in the show, and we get to see its slow transformation, the political forces that are making the Fire Kingdom more nationalistic. Real quick, my idea for the story for this little prequel series is that Iroh is like a goofy troublemaker, but he's also very talented. He's sent off on this big spy mission to prove his worth to the Fire Nation, and he's going to travel around to one or more of the other kingdoms. He constantly has to reinvent himself and disguise and blend in, but his personality tends to shine through. Over the course of the show, he slowly realizes that all these other people are just people. They're not the terrible enemies the Fire Kingdom has made them out to be. The next one would be a Spirit World miniseries. So in the original show, we saw a few different times where Aang would cross over to the Spirit World, or plane, or whatever they actually call it. And this is where he would interact with past avatars and other spirit entities that just exist in the world, I guess. So I do think this little mini-series would be a lot more toned down, a lot more slow-paced, and that would leave a lot of room for a different tone, something a little bit more mellow than what we saw in the original show and Legend of Korra and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of room for humor here, I think. You can make up as many spirits as you want. We could show as many of the past avatars as we want. We can also do some crazy animation because it's the spirit world. It doesn't have to be realistic in any way. It can be crazy and colorful, and the color palette can change on a whim. And as far as like characters and story, I think our main would be an avatar somewhere in the timeline who is near death, at least on the human level. And he starts to spend more time in the spirit world unintentionally, like he's kind of phasing between the real life and the spirit plane. So in this process, we see lots of flashbacks to his or her life up to this point, all the regrets and the very nice moments and the good and bad things. And while he's in the spirit world, kind of on his journey to the end of his life, he encounters tests along the way, which helps this character, this avatar, explore who they really are. And my last idea that I want to get through real quick is what I'm calling the Normie SpinOff, which is referring to our main characters, because in a lot of the other Avatar stuff, we always focus on an avatar, one or more, and it's the special people, it's the people with superpowers. There are normal characters, quote unquote, who don't have bending abilities, but they tend not to be in the spotlight. It's kind of what I call the Sokka effect, where they have to be surrounded by people with all these special skills that they just can't stack up to. They have to find their own, abilities and strengths and all that kind of thing. This kind of dynamic, this power dynamic, is sort of dealt with in that Amazon series called The Boys, where, it's normal people taking on superheroes. I see it being set in the Earth Kingdom, and I'd like it to be a big group of characters, not just one singular protagonist and not like 3 like we saw in the original series. In this timeline, there is an avatar somewhere in the world, but it happens to be very cowardly, so it's up to these kind of strapping young normal characters to fix things. As for the story, I see them having to solve some big supernatural problem, like maybe the world itself is splitting apart because the water spirit is angry at the earth spirit for something, and it's having an adverse effect on all living things. You could get all kinds of interesting little mini stories out of this, and them, of course, traveling is going to be a big part of all of these spin-off ideas, and I think it has been a huge part of the original show and Legend of Korra, so I think it makes sense to keep that going for a while. I think I'm going to end it there because my stuff always ends up being way too long, so I'm going to make this nice and short. But yeah, those are my ideas for some Avatar: The Last Airbender spin-off series. I doubt any of them will ever get made, and I guess depending on how this new show does on Netflix, who knows, maybe they would consider doing another spin-off, maybe they would even consider doing another full movie, since the Shyamalan one was a train wreck. But until then, I'm excited to watch the new one and hear some of your own ideas for spin-offs or for what you're hoping to see from the Netflix show. And that's about it. Bye.